So I remember, like, me and my friends used to look at them and be like, I can't wait, man. I want to hang out in the alleyway. Like, I didn't know how to dress, you know. I had earrings, tongue ring. They were like, get all that shit out of your face. They would all laugh because within like 5 minutes I was snoring out.
Welcome back. Jess Spota, what's up, my man?
Nothing much, good.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a minute.
Yeah.
Everything's good with you?
Yeah, everything's good, busy. You know,
Busy?
kids, wife,
You
you
got
know.
like two boys, right?
Two
Rocco
boys.
and Jess?
Yes, Rocco's the baby, 3,
Right.
and Jess is 7.
Okay. And then your wife's name is Jen?
Yes, Genevieve.
How long you been married?
10 years.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah, this August will be 11 years.
So things are good.
Yeah, things are good.
Things are good.
You know, you got to work at it like everything else.
Listen,
you got to
that's-
work at it.
That's what we were talking about, right? Things weren't always so good, but
No, they weren't.
right. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Everybody struggles with something in this world, and I try to bring people on here that have, interesting things to talk about, right? Interesting topics, hence the name. And I think you have an interesting one that I hope a lot of people can resonate with and hopefully get some information out of that can help them. Because I know you struggled with addiction, right, in your
Yes.
past. And
Yep.
so where you grew up, where, Lower East Side?
Yes, I grew up. My family's originally from Mulberry Street. My parents, they grew up together. They went to grammar school together. Then me and my sister were born a little bit further south, right by the Brooklyn Bridge, in a small little, neighborhood down in Lower Manhattan, right by the South Street Seaport. Back in the day, there was the Fulton Fish Market down there. So yeah, born and raised down there. I've only been in Staten Island for about 5 years now.
So I'm assuming, Italian family?
Italian, both sides, full Italian.
Raised, right?
Yeah, both,
Successful.
yeah, both parents in the house. You know, my parents got split up. I think I was like 12. My parents parted ways, but still, they still have a very good relationship to this day. I grew up down the hall from one grandmother, and then my other grandmother lived in the next building. So, I mean, I was surrounded by family, Sunday dinners, tons of friends, normal childhood, sports, good schools, everything, was made available to me. Catholic schools, my whole life, opportunity to go to college, everything. You know.
That's why I was getting at, good family, good upbringing, successful people, family around you at all times, right?
Yep.
You hear these crazy stories of how these kids go off the deep end based on their surroundings and their environment. But you were like not the atypical guy to go in a different direction. So when did that start? When did
It's
see
funny
a
you
difference?
ask that now because this popped into my head. The other day we spoke on Monday. So the other day I was thinking, growing up in that area, Fulton Street was like the main street kind of in my neighborhood. And I don't know if you remember from back in the day, a store called Woolworth.
Sure.
So there was a Woolworth, like on the outskirts, like of my neighborhood, like on the street part. There was 9 buildings in my neighborhood, and there was a little alleyway that you could drive down by Woolworth and get into my neighborhood. And I remember probably from 11, 12 years old, being out with my friends. And so there was my generation. Then there was the older kids, which we called them, that were like, 4 or 5 years older. And then there was the older kids. And that was like my uncle and his friends. Yeah. My dad and my uncle are 18 years apart.
Oh,
So
okay.
my
Gotcha.
uncle
was more close
my
to
uncle
yours.
was closer to being like a brother, So, they used to hang out. I remember they used to pull their cars up into the alleyway on a Friday night, Saturday night, blasting music, drinking, smoking, girls. So they were like the celebrities, and they would never allow us because, everyone knew that Billy was my uncle. So they would never allow us near them. So it was always like, get out of here, go home, what are you doing? So I remember, like, me and my friends used to look at them and be like, I can't wait, man. I want to hang out in the alleyway. Like, I can't. So I remember as, like, a young kid, once I hit, like, 16, 17, and I was able to get into the alleyway and hang out and have a 40 and something, like, then I felt like that was the world to me, like that. And then when I did it, when my generation took over the alleyway, we were there, all night. No one wanted to go home. And it was a dirty, smelled like piss, a dirty alley that we would just pull our cars in, blasting music.
Nobody bothered you.
Nope, nothing.
And that's why
Smoking weed, drinking, laughing, breaking bottles, fighting. So there was down Fulton Street was the South Street Seaport, and there was always there used to be a little bar like club called Sequoias in the pier, and Friday, Saturday nights was just all like Latin music and girls. We used to stand in front of the alleyway and see everybody walking up Fulton Street to get to the train station. So we'd grab girls, fight with guys going. So it was like, we never went out. Like we just wanted to go to, we used to call it the Magnet because it drew everybody. At one point at time in the night, everybody was out there. Yeah, everybody was there. So you could go and stand there and get into a fight, get a girl, get drunk. Like, so that was like, I didn't want to play sports. Like I wanted to do that.
Get into a fight, get laid, and get a
that's
bag
it.
of weed
That's
all at
it.
the same
That's
time.
it. And then all week that's all we would talk about. Like, yo, remember that fight? Remember this? Like, so it was just like that was like the highlight of growing up down there. It was crazy. So which I thought at the time was normal, but now looking back, like that's not really normal. Like that's not.
Somebody once told me that how we got out of our 20s alive is amazing, and it's true. We grew up in a crazy time when, and listen, the 60s and the 70s were crazy.
Right.
I'm sure that the 20s and the 30s had their thing. Everybody has their thing.
People were going to war.
Right.
Kids our age were in war.
Right. So there's a craziest stuff going on. Today's, I don't know, these kids, I don't think will ever see what we saw in terms of socializing, right? The whole realm of social interaction is completely changed, right? Yeah. So there'll be a magnet, but it'll be like 6 kids in different houses all talking
on their phone. Yeah. No, of course.
So, all right. So you grew up like a regular kid in Manhattan, right? Because I could hear that story from Brooklyn kids. I could hear that story. We all had our hangout spot. But there's a difference between, smoking a little weed and drinking whatever until finally having a problem. So how did that begin? I remember you telling me you worked in finance.
Yeah. So I was always, I never wanted to stop the partying with my friends. So when it came time to go to college, I was really good football player. I went to Xavier High School on 16th Street, Jesuit High School. Played football, all conference. I was going to college to play football. I was going to Pace in Westchester.
What position did you play?
Running back.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So I dropped out. I stopped playing football because, you have to report to football camp for college, like middle of the summer. I'm like, no way. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving my neighborhood and my friends to go, So I stopped playing football. Went to college for a semester, dropped out, and then started working on the stock exchange in Wall Street.
How old are you?
18.
Wow.
18, okay. Yeah. 18, I did like an intern, like a summer thing there. And then that following year, I went to college. I had a 0.0 GPA. I never went to class.
You want to go, right?
Yeah. So I dropped out, and my mother was like, "You're not going to be on the street like a bum. I'm going to I was working with a cousin of mine at the time. She was like, I'm going to talk to cousin Peter. And I was offered the job full time. So, at 19, I think I was full time in the stock exchange with 40-year-old men, going out for drinks after work, this, that, a lot of money, nice suits. So I was exposed to it. Yeah.
As most young 18-year-olds would do.
Yeah. I remember, my first week of work, I showed up in like khakis, a plaid shirt, a striped tie, and they were like, "What are you wearing? Like, what is that? Like, here, take your first paycheck, go get a suit, let's go." They took me to some store over there, buy a suit. They were like, "You look ridiculous." Like, I didn't know how to dress. I had earrings, tongue ring. They were like, "Get all that shit out of your face. This is Wall Street." So I was like, "All right, let's go. I'm all in. That's me. I'm all in. Let's go." So, yeah, it started, I was exposed to it, at an early age. I lived in the area. I lived so close to the stock exchange that I was always everyone's guy, they knew where I lived. can you get me this? Can you get me that? Yeah, I got a friend. Don't worry. I would make a call. Yeah, he's gonna come over on lunch. He's gonna take a walk over. So, from that, like, I was always like that guy. I was always the guy that knew somebody, always had a friend that sold this, that sold that.
Yeah, you were the only neighborhood kid.
Yeah.
Unless people that made it big then moved there.
Right.
You know?
So, it was, that's kind of like how it started. I would do somebody a favor, and they'd be like, here, take a little bit of this, have a bump, smoke a joint, take a pill, here, for you, for your troubles. Okay, so I was like always that guy. So that was like my payment for doing them a favor. So, that's really when kind of things started to like escalate.
Spiral a little bit. That's what I'm gonna ask you. So you're working on Wall Street, you're a kid, you're hanging out, you're going out with these guys who's partying, you're along for the ride. So at what point, at what age, or what point in your life where you started to say, well, other people probably started to see it first, right? Because a lot of times in addiction, you don't necessarily see it yourself, right?
Yeah, so, it wasn't until a little bit later on, I'd left the floor and I was working on a trading desk. And again, I was the guy, and somebody was like, hey, can you get perks? You get Percocet. So I was like, yeah, I have a friend that gets them. I used to get bottles of hundreds or whatever, 100 pills in a bottle. So I would get them, do them the favor. And either the guy I was getting them from would throw me like 10, or the people I was getting it for would throw me 10. And I never really dabbled, no matter all the other, things that I did, growing up, I was always able to put it down and walk away. It never really took a hold of me. Weed, I thought I was going to smoke weed till the day I die. I loved it. I put it down, no problem. I had to take a drug test one day for a job. I stopped smoking. I was like, I'm good.
Yeah, you
Coke,
cranky
all that.
for 2 or 3 days and you're good.
All that. It was just nothing. It's nothing. But then I started to have an abundance of these pills on hand. And I would take them Friday, Saturday. Then it turned into Friday, Saturday. Oh, it's Monday. I'm not doing nothing. Let me take one, watch a movie. Then the trading desk I was working for went out of business. I was out of work. I had met my wife. I was home all the time. She was working. I was home looking for a job. I was taking them every day. Every day. I couldn't stop. So that's when it really got bad. That's when, I had no idea what addiction was, what withdrawal was. I never experienced any of that. I thought, at first I thought it was like a cold, or I was getting like the flu. Never had the flu before. I was like, oh, this must be the flu. I'm achy. But it was, it was the withdrawal from the pills.
So you go from taking them to get high to taking them to feel normal.
Right. And to not get sick. And, it was just, it was misery. It was, it was horrible. Some people, they would take a Percocet if they had a tooth pulled, take one, and have such a bad reaction, flush the rest. Be like, that's it, I'm done. I can't take these. I was the opposite.
Taking, you feel like Superman.
Yeah. I had mentioned to you, I had a ton of friends growing up, but my friends that I had were friends from childhood, from babies. We were in baby carriages together. I never had to go and actually start a conversation with somebody and say, hey, my name is Jess. What's your name? How are you? I never had to make a friend. We all went to school together. We went to high school together. So wherever we traveled, we rolled 20 deep. We just had, all our friends. So I was kind of shy. When I would have to go on vacation and there'd be a group of kids playing, my mother would be like, oh, why don't you go make friends? No, I would be stuck on the chair next to my mother. That's it.
Right.
No, I'm not going. That's it.
Friends.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know how to, I don't want to make friends with them.
So
when I started taking
somewhat
them.
Introverted outside your regular crew that you hung out with.
Yeah, where people would think that I was kind of rude.
Yeah, absolutely.
If, we'd
Comes
be.
off that way,
Yeah, I met some of my wife's friends when we first started dating, and they all grew up together, so they had a lot of conversation to have with each other, and I'm just sitting there and I'm listening. I'm not being rude. I'm listening. I'm paying attention, but I'm not really talking. I'm older than them, so I really didn't have much to add.
Add to the conversation.
So right away, I know these people oh man, this kid's a dick. Jen's new boyfriend, he didn't even say 2 words. What a jerk. But that's not the case. That's just me. I'm quiet. Yeah. But these pills, night and day. Like you said, I felt like Superman. I could have a conversation. I would take them. I would clean the house. My wife would come home. Dinner would be
You get
cooked.
focus.
So it was just kept going, getting worse and worse and worse. And it was just, starting to get the lying. It was just, lying to my wife, lying to my mother, lying to my father. Money, just money blown, spent, every savings, everything that I had was just, my life was controlled by it.
Yeah, because I know your family is a successful family. I'm sure they were there for you to help you through, whatever it is. And you find yourself, almost treating them like the enemy, right?
Yeah, because they're questioning me.
Yeah.
So, I would show up places if I had sunglasses on. It's, what's the matter with your eyes? I hid it. I thought I was hiding it, for a while. And, I don't know if my parents, they didn't want to believe it. After a time, after a certain time, I'm hitting them up for money. Jess, you just got paid. Oh, I got bills. I got this, my bills, my rent. They're like, what are your bills? Like, oh, come on, let me borrow this. It's $100. I'll give it to, it was just money would come in this hand and out the other hand,
When did you see yourself like really spiraling out of control? Any specific time that you can see?
I mean, I know when I, started like pawn and jewelry, without even contemplating like, the good and evil of it, like it was just like, let's go,
right.
My first wedding ring, I just got a real wedding ring now for my 10-year anniversary. I got married in 2012. I had a white gold and diamond wedding ring. I pawned that.
Wow.
My high school ring, I pawned that. Chains, things that were left to me by my grandparents, a JS ring from my grandfather, go pawn that. And like I said, I wasn't even standing there like, no, don't do it. I was just, let me go. I went to the, to the jewelry exchange, pawned it, and bought drugs with it. And this is, for a little bit, like on my way to get the drugs, like thinking about it, like what I just do. But then once I would get the drugs, all that shit would go away, and I didn't care. Did it again.
So what was the one thing that you said that happened that you said, fuck it, this has to end?
So I had tried to get sober a couple times. My family knew. They found out. They there was no, it was no like secret anymore. Like they knew. They confronted me. I tried to get sober. I did the whole Suboxone treatment for a while. That was horrible, being on the Suboxone. I was lying to my wife about it.
What is that? What is that like, the Suboxone?
So Suboxone is another drug that they give you to kind of get you off of opiates, but you get so addicted. So up until that point that I did Suboxone, I was only doing pills, Percocet pill form. I would crush them and sniff them, only pills. Once I got on the Suboxone, to get off of that, I tried to stop the Suboxone after a while. And that, like, I felt like I was crazy. Like, I was having anxiety, couldn't sleep for like a week. I wanted to throw myself off the terrace. And at that point, everyone knew what I was doing and how expensive the pills were that I was paying for. I went to heroin. That was the only, and even that, without a blink of an eye, I was in the projects, right across the street from me. I grew up right in the projects. And in the staircase, a dirty staircase in the projects, dressed up, going to work, waiting, for a bag of heroin. Like it was nothing, like normal.
Yeah, like you're waiting for a bagel sandwich.
Yeah, waiting, looking at the clock, like, man, I got to get to work. Where the hell is this guy? Getting it, doing it in the staircase, going to work,
So you're able to function.
Yeah, I was
the best that you could anyway.
I wasn't getting high. My low got so low that to get high would just bring me back to like normal.
Right, that's it.
Like I wasn't, and this would be all day. I would need it.
To my point earlier, you got to take it to be normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so you go through that. You go through the Suboxone. Obviously, that doesn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because now you turn to heroin.
Yep.
And where do we go from there?
So that happened. That went on and off. with the heroin. Probably for like maybe 6 months, 4 months with the heroin. I know one time like I didn't have it, and I took a bunch of Benadryl because of like the anxiety. I knew Benadryl would kind of calm me down. helped me get some sleep. I think I took like 12 Benadryl or something, like, just, yeah. I mean, that was like my personality. Like, I could drink a bottle of NyQuil to calm down. Like, I mean, I was going through withdrawal at night. I didn't have any. I wasn't going to be able to get any until the next day. So I took the Benadryl, and then I think my wife found all, like, the empty Benadryl packets. And she was like, that's it, I'm done. She was looking for an apartment. I saw her looking online for an apartment. She had gone to lawyers for a divorce. I was out of my house. I was sleeping on my mother's couch. My mother wasn't home for that week. I was sleeping on her couch. And I had called my uncle. Well, like I said, we kind of grew up together. So I called him. He was living with my grandmother. He was going through a rough divorce at the time. He moved back in with my grandmother down the hall. And I called him up, and I was like, I need to borrow $20. I'm fighting with my wife. I left the house. I don't have my wallet. I need $20. He tells me, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going through a crazy time right now. I can't give you the money. But he was like, if you need lunch, he was like, come inside. I got cold cuts. I got chicken cutlets. I'll make you a sandwich. Take the sandwich to work. Never answered him back. I was like, fuck you. You don't want to give me the money? I'll find it someplace else, So I went. I took out consignment. I had consignment from like 4 different drug dealers. And he called my father that day. And he was like, listen, Jess is bad. He called me up asking me for $20. You don't have $20 on him? He's doing something. So that day I came home from work, and my father and my mother were in my mother's house. And, like, I had trashed my mother's apartment. I think I found from one of my sister's C-sections from giving birth. She had, like, 5 milligram Percocets. They were in my mother's house, like, in the medicine cabinet. I found them. I took the whole bottle. I was just on a tear. I had no, like, remorse, I just didn't care.
Weren't thinking.
No, I didn't. At that point, like I said, my wife wanted a divorce. I'm sleeping on my mother's couch. I don't know. I don't even remember the last time I showered. Like, I was going to work all week, like, in the same clothes. So, like, I didn't even care if, like, honestly, like, I wasn't trying to kill myself. Like, I wasn't trying to overdose, but I was mixing things. If I couldn't get it from one guy, I would go get Xanax from this guy, Klonopin from that guy. Then this guy would call me with the heroin, and I'd get that and do that. I just didn't give a shit. Like, I would mix. I don't care. I want to just mask all this pain.
Yeah, you want to bury everything
exactly
deep down as far as you could bury it.
Yeah. So I mean, they came. My mother and my father were at my mother's house, and her just apartment was a mess. Like, shit everywhere, and that was it. They were like, "You're going to rehab, or you're going to jail. We're gonna call the cops
Or the morgue."
Yeah. Well, they told me, they were like, we're gonna call the cops. You stole money from us. You took money from us. You took jewelry, whatever. We're calling the cops. You're going to jail. I was like, fuck you. I'm not going. That's bullshit. But yeah. So that was a Friday night, and I remember, like, with all the craziness, the shit that was going on, I told my father, I was like, all right, I owe so and so money. I have to go pay them. He's like, I don't trust you. He goes, I'll go pay them. I was like, you're not going to go. They're not going to trust you. They're not, like, you can't go roll up in the projects right now, like, and go knock on this kid's door. Like, they'll kill you. So he was like, all right, I'll come with you. I'm like, okay, fine, you come with me. I was like, you got to stay downstairs. Like, I got to go up to this kid's house. He gives me money. I go up and I buy more drugs with the money. That's how crazy this had taken over, my life. Like, so I go up, I buy the drugs, and I know, like, he's gonna like try and search me. So I do, like, 2 bags in the staircase, put the other ones, like, under my sock, and, like, I was good. Now I was just like, I didn't give a shit. My wife wanted a divorce. I'm going to rehab, but I got 8 more bags under my sock. I'm good. I don't give a shit. Like, whatever. Let's go out to dinner. Let's get a drink. Like, they're like, what the fuck? So it's just, that's just the way my mind was. Like, so, yeah, that was a Friday into Saturday. I begged my mother, like, they were, like, babysitting me. So I begged my mom to go, if I could go get a haircut. I still had hair. So I begged my mom. I was like, please let me go. I'm going away for I don't know how long. I want to go to my barber. I want to get a haircut. She gave me $20 to go get a haircut. I used the money for a haircut, but I ran to the projects and I took out 100 on consignment because I knew I was going away for a month and I'm not going to see this person. So I said, "Fuck it, let me take out a little more on consignment. Beat their beat. Never going to pay them." You know, till this day, I probably owe them. I don't know. Like, it's just, yeah.
So you finally did go away.
Yeah.
Where was that?
I went to a place called Karen in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Karen Treatment Centers. I went, I think it was February 2nd, 2015, the day after the Super Bowl.
So what's that like? Do they just try to instill like beliefs in you, change your mindset?
So this particular program is a 12-step program.
Okay.
So like AA, kind of 12 steps. You know, there's a lot of group therapy. First of all, you detox when you get there. So I think I had some stuff maybe left over. I think Monday morning. So this was Sunday was the Super Bowl. I left like one bag for myself for Monday morning. I woke up, I did it, and now mind you, I used to do like 4 or 5 bags at a time. So one bag really, just a little taste, just a little bit on my way up there. So by the time you do the intake, first of all, getting up there, getting to
Gotta be 3 hours.
yeah, it took a while. So I remember like nodding off in the car a little bit, crying. You know, I said goodbye to my mother the night before. Didn't see my wife. You know, my father was crying because we're going up to. It's not like they're taking you away to college. You know,
You're not going to
you
Arizona.
know, I'm in the
State.
back. I'm crying. I'm sleeping. You know, all these emotions. You know, so once you do the intake and everything, then you go right. You say goodbye. You know, I'm trying to be tough because there's, you know, other guys in there. You know, it was a private facility, but still, you know, you're afraid. You don't know what you're gonna.
Of course.
Never went to rehab before. I heard horror stories about some rehabs where it's like jail.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people in those places are there because of getting caught.
Yeah, breaking the law.
So it's either you go there or you go to jail.
Right.
And of course, who's going to want to go to jail? They go to a rehab. But so right away you go into the detox unit, and there's just a bunch of people in there that are going through the same horror as you, sweating, shaking, can't eat, you know, farting, throwing up, you know, just stunk in there. Like, I'm just like, oh God, like what is this shit? Like, you know, and then they have guys from the unit. Like, so once you graduate from the detox unit, you're there for like, depending how bad your detox is, like 3 days, 4 days when you start to really detox all that out. Then you go up into the actual men's unit.
And
so
how was that for you, that whole process of detoxing?
It was shitty. it was shitty. But like I said, you're going through it with people that are going through the same thing. They don't give you drugs to detox. They give you, I forget the name of it. It was a medication that they prescribe for blood pressure, for high blood pressure. So this kind of like drops your blood pressure and kind of like calms you down. So they would give us that like maybe 3 times a day to kind of stop with the anxiety. You know, you lose a lot of weight because you're not eating, you have no appetite. So like 3-4 days, you may be eating once a day, if that. You know, you can't keep anything down. You're drinking water, Gatorade, and stuff like that. So I happened to be in a room with a kid that was going through withdrawal from the same thing. So we kind of like hit it off, and we were talking, and, you know, be tough, bro, you got it, you know. And then they would bring people from the unit down that were in our place like 3 weeks ago. So they would come down and they'd be like, hey, man, I was right where you are. Look at me. I'm feeling good. So it's like there's hope. You know, you see like hope at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. Rather than doing it at home, knowing all I need to do is make a phone call and I'm good. Mm-hmm. This will all stop. Mm-hmm. So once you get that into your mind, you know, and then also when you're detoxing now, all the feelings that you buried for such a long time all rush over you. I would just lay in bed some nights and just cry. Like, just look at myself in the mirror and cry, think about my wife, my life that I fucked up, like, and just cry. Just sob and sob, like, because I've been so numb for so long. Before that, I couldn't remember the last time I cried, for real. If I did cry, it was bullshit to show people that I cared, but I really didn't. But, yeah.
Was there anything specific that you remember doing, like on the regular, to try to get you through those dark days?
Um,
You know, some people meditate, some people, you know, find.
so I tell my wife this story and she laughs. Like, so when we get up to the unit, you know, the detox, like your mind is just in so many different places that you just wake up one day and you feel better. You know, like it's like, okay, last night wasn't so bad, or, you know, so then you're at that point, like you're anxious, you want to get up to the unit and see what this is all about, you know, because you're still in the little detox unit. So, you know, there's no meetings, there's no group, there's nothing. You're just sitting in this little room watching TV with everybody. They come in, they take your vitals, they give you your meds, that's it. So I wanted to get up, and they did have meditation. They did do meditation. You know, we would all lay down on the floor, and you know, one of the counselors would play like chimes and, you know, like that soft music. Yeah, they would all laugh because within like 5 minutes I was snoring out. So I told my wife that story. She yells at me. She yelled at me last night because I was snoring so loud in the bed. But I tell her that story. I told her that, like, when I came home, she was cracking up. I was like, yeah, I'd be out cold. I had to get a pillow from the couch.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah. But it was a great. I owe them my life. I'm be eternally grateful to them forever.
That was what, a 30-day program?
I did a little, maybe 32 days. I think I did there. Then they have like extended stay where you could go to kind of like housing, and you stay on the on the premises. But we got gym time, so we'd go to the gym, play volleyball. So I mean, it was just hysterical. You'd see like a bunch of like ex-drug addicts trying to hit a volleyball. The ball's going backwards. They're falling. You know, it was just crazy. We'd go to the gym. I remember like I packed my bag the day that when I packed. I don't know what I was throwing in there, that when I got there, they search all your stuff. I had cologne. I had bathing suits. They were like, where do you think you're going? The guy searching my bag was like, I got to take this. I had a big bottle of like, I forgot, a Chanel Platinum cologne. They're like, what do you think you're like? I was like, I don't know. I like to smell good. He was like, no, you'll get this back when you leave. I had all bathing suits. They were like, what do you think? Like, there's a pool here? Like, he was like, I don't know. That's what they told me on the phone. Yeah,
that's how my parents got me.
Yeah, you know, you could look back at it now and laugh, but
well, obviously, addiction is a lifelong battle, right? It's something that you go through, but it's always a complete journey, right?
Yeah.
So how do you today, deal with the everydays? I think we all, are addicted to something in life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's triggers, right?
Right.
Things that trigger you. Obviously, being back in the same geographical area that you grew up in, obviously still having the same connections that you have. How do you deal with that part of the journey of knowing that, hey, I got past the fire, right? Now I'm in the glory stage, but I want to stay here.
Yep. You know, when I first got home, so even before my addiction, like I'm the baby, the boy of an Italian family. My parents did a lot for me. Even, when I was married, my mother always wanted to do my laundry. Bring me your laundry. I'll clean. I'll do this. When I got home, like, I don't know, that detoxing, that's why, like, I went through a lot of shit, a lot of fucked up things. I wouldn't change it for the world because it made me a tougher person, a tougher man, made me who I am today, a good father, great husband, all because of that, because now I value what I have. So when I got home, I had to tell and that was part of rehab too, parents come up for like a weekend and they teach them about boundaries and all that stuff. Like, what we did to our families, they need to kind of go to like their own little rehab, kind of like learn to like, listen, let go of the reins a little bit, step back, so I took I needed my space with them. I needed to work on my marriage. I needed to work on myself. Sobriety is a very selfish, thing because you have to put yourself first. I did a lot of fucked up things to people while I was using, and they teach us in sobriety that, just keep your side of the street clean. That's all you could do.
Right.
If you don't like me, I can't do anything about it. Right. I could just be the best, version of me. If you don't like me, that's on you. Right. It sucks, but so like I learned to like kind of let go of a lot of those things that I did, which a lot of people, they can't. Right. My wife will never forget the lying and the, this and that, like that'll stay with her, forever. She forgave me and we moved on and we have a beautiful life now, but that'll never leave her mind. Like,
Sure.
I fuck up, I do something stupid now, it brings everything back.
Yeah, it's magnified.
Yeah. So, just working on that, it made me strong going through all of this, coming out. Like I said, I lived still in the same apartment. I was coming out of my building and I could see the building that I used to go cop in. Right there. But my decision was to get up at 5:30. I would meet up with my sponsor in the morning. We would do 12-step work. I would go to a meeting with him. I would go to work after, and then I would go to outpatient. So that was part of my program for when I got home. They wanted me to go to sober living, which is like a house full of guys in recovery.
Yeah.
You live with them. You leave to go to work. You leave to go to meetings. I told him no. I said, listen, I have to work on my marriage and my life. I have a job, so I'm not going to sober living. So they were like, okay, the next thing is you go to outpatient 3 nights a week to like 9:30, meetings, piss tests, all that type of stuff. And I was doing it every day. I never missed one thing. So, there were days where I would go to 2 meetings. I tried NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous. I was a big AA guy, but I tried NA. It wasn't for me. But, I put in the work, and my wife saw it. She was like, I never thought that you would be going to these levels, like doing this, like this. So, that's our, addict mentality. When we put our mind to something, like you have to being an addict is 24/7. You're always on that grind. You're always lying. You're always scheming. You're always covering something up. So if you just take that energy and put it into something, positive, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Like I go to when I'm in my gym phase. Like I go to the gym 5-6 days a week. I eat grilled chicken 3 times a day. When I'm in my not gym phase, I'm eating pizza, Chinese food, fast food, whatever the fuck I want to eat. That's it. That's what I want to do. There's no.
Well, it's an addictive personality.
Yeah.
That's what you have. Whether it's positive or negative, it's just
right,
addictive.
Right. When I binge watch a show, I'll watch, Game of Thrones. I watched it in like the whole series in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
During COVID, like I had my phone like this. I was up till like 2 a.m. watching Game of Thrones.
That's why I think that your story is very helpful to people, to let them know that they're not alone, right? Mm-hmm. People that might be listening to this show that says, wow, I thought I had it bad, and then, I listened to this guy's story, or I thought this, and maybe it isn't that bad, because I'm sure driving up to Reading was, like you said, probably the worst time of your life, right? Going through some horrible shit, stealing, lying to your family, obviously, is very difficult. But you like you said, you put the work in, you changed your life around. I personally think, your story, your transformation from addiction to recovery is very, very inspiring, right? Especially knowing that you went back to where you were, right? A lot of times. Right. And I've had friends that were addicts that went through the process that you did too, and they used to tell me that they were always told that geographical change does not necessarily mean that the personal
exactly,
change. Just down in Florida, you'll find
it anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So the fact that you were able to come back here, I guess my last question is, now we're working on 6 years?
So yeah, I was sober. I got sober 2015. So now when I got sober, I wouldn't take Benadryl. I wouldn't take NyQuil. Like I was hardcore sober.
It's addictive personality.
Yeah. So I didn't do anything. Like I told you, I had gotten a procedure on my neck. I had to get shots. They wanted to give me that propanol or whatever is that thing that Michael Jackson took. And the doctor's like, no, it's fine. It's not a drug. You just feel nice and feel a little loopy. I'm like, Doc, I lived my life loopy.
Feeling nice.
Loopy, I'll be looking for this on the street if you give it to me. Like, I know it. So I did the procedure without it. So come fast forward now, 2020, COVID hits. My father-in-law dies. I have my son. He had to get rushed to the emergency room with some respiratory thing at like a week old, spent 5 days in the ICU, miserable, just hard, worst time of my life. So one day I just tell my wife, we got to go out this summer. I said, me and you, and I was like, I'm going to have a drink. So she like kind of laughed it off, and then she was like, well, are you serious? Like, I'm like, you know what? I was like, I've been thinking about it, you know, and this was never my style. If I wanted to have a drink, I'm going to go have a drink. You know what I mean?
Now,
Like,
did you have a problem with alcohol? Was it?
no, I mean, I didn't go away for alcohol,
Okay.
but when I came home, I knew I wasn't going to drink
Gotcha.
because, you know, you get those drinks in you, your inhibitions go down. You know, we
Absolutely.
didn't have kids at the time.
I'm
You
just
know,
curious.
I didn't want to be home. I didn't want to be in a bar at 3 o'clock in the morning with my boys.
Right.
You know, so I just stayed away from everything. You know, shortly after I got home, my wife got pregnant with our first son. I lived in the gym. I became, you know, into my gym. You know, that was my thing, going to the gym. Some of my good friends stepped up, and they were like, yo, let's meet for coffee every day. So there was a Dunkin' Donuts across the street from our neighborhood. We would get up 6:30, 7 o'clock before work, have a cup of coffee or whatever. They really were like, you know,
Supportive.
it was awesome to hang out with my friends. I haven't hung out with my friends like that in years.
Right.
So to do that, like, just brought back a lot of good memories for me. So I did decide, me and my wife spoke about it, you know, even just picking up, I think it was a glass of sangria for Mother's Day after we spoke about it for like months. And I told my family, and I was like, listen, I think, you know, I'm trying to go about it the right way.
Sure.
I didn't want to hide it from anybody. I can't hide things anymore.
You want to trust yourself too.
Right. So I wanted to, you know, give it a shot, you know, so now, even now to this day, like, I'll have a drink, you know, every now and then with my wife, a social drink, you know, date night.
Right.
We'll go out. We don't get many date nights, you know, with two kids. So, you know, we'll go out and I'll have a glass of wine. I'll have a beer. I mean, I have beers in my refrigerator from last summer. So it's not like I'm going in. I don't wake up and like, oh, man, I want to have a drink.
Right.
So, but I know, like, I tell my wife, too, like, listen, if you start to see something change in me, like with the drinking, and I'm coming home, I'm having a beer, like, we got to shut this shit down.
Right.
You know, I don't care if tomorrow my wife tells me, like, hey, you know what, I noticed you've been drinking a lot. I think you need to stop again. I'll stop. You know, like, it's not, you know, it's not something that I need to do. It's something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's,
you want to test yourself too, right? You want to make sure that you can handle yourself, and I think you went about it the right way. I think that, you know, you gave it thought. It wasn't something that you just walked into a party and somebody handed you a beer and you started drinking.
No,
right?
no.
You thought it through, and listen, as long as you could do anything responsibly,
right,
you deserve to do it.
I will never touch a narcotic.
Oh, that's
again.
different. I'm saying, you know, something from,
you know, even like, you know, weed.
Well,
weed
I was
is
say
everywhere.
nothing illegal, but today everything's legal.
Yeah,
right?
you know, I mean, I smell weed everywhere. Right. You know, I don't think I would never, you know, kind of do that, only because I know, you know, you smoke a little too much weed, you get a little like anxiety. Now you're looking for something to calm down. I'm bugging out. I'm getting paranoid. I need a Xanax. I need a Valium.
Plus, you have more to risk today than you
exactly.
did, you know,
Exactly. You know, we go out drinking. You know, we go out, you know, for dinner. We got a babysitter. We have a few glasses of wine. You know, the kids still wake up. My little one wakes up 6 o'clock.
Sure.
I'm still up with him. I tell my wife, I got him.
Yeah.
I'll get up. I get him. I'm making breakfast. I'm doing all this. I can't not show up for my kids, you know.
And that's your driving force. Where you are today.
Yeah.
But like I said, you know, super inspiring. I'm so happy that you were here to tell this story. I hope that other people that are struggling with similar situations understand it. But now, how do you continue to give back to that community? Do you continue to go to meetings? Do you continue to speak to kids that maybe are in bad ways today that maybe you can help? Is there like a mentorship?
I mean, I try to, you know, I have so much respect for the AA program and the community that I don't go to meetings because I don't consider myself sober, because I'll pick up a drink every now and then.
Right.
And I know from being in those meetings that people are struggling. It's real life, you know.
Sure, I respect that.
You know, people go out on binges and they wake up in airports in Texas, like some of the stories you hear there. So I don't want to downplay AA at all by going to a meeting and sitting there like I'm sober. Meanwhile, like, I'll know if the weekend comes and I'm at your house for a barbecue, I'm going to have a beer with you, you know. Right. So I don't. I used to go to meetings. I used to go speak. I spoke at meetings all over the city. I spoke at a meeting out here for my 5-year. I made my 5-year anniversary out here. That's why I'm really glad, you know, when we spoke, like, I was really anxious to get on here. Even though I don't really consider myself sober, my journey could be inspiring to other people, you know, to do it. Even, you know, I used to see like couples out at dinner having a glass of wine, and I'd be going through my shit, going through withdrawal or whatever, and I would just be so envious. Like, I just want that. I want to be able to go out with my wife, have a glass of wine. Like, so there's hope, man. There's hope. I'm not saying like, yeah, get sober and then go out for a drink. No. This is my story. This is what I decided. Drugs and drinking go hand in hand. So you just got to, if both are an issue for people, then you really need to leave them both alone. You gotta live your story.
Right.
This is mine. This is
Everybody's
the path
that
I chose. Yeah.
So somebody that's struggling right now, what advice do you give them?
Definitely, definitely go to AA. I've been to therapists, trying to get sober. Classy Madison Avenue, $200 an hour therapist that I manipulated and bullshitted them. And it took going to AA to an old church basement with nasty coffee and stale donuts and folding chairs and guys reaching out to you and giving me their number, and then we hold hands and we do the serenity prayer. That's what got me. That's what got me sober.
I'm sure you couldn't bullshit them.
No, they did. You think I have like a crazy like their shit like. Guys that were living on Skid Row, like, living like on the Bowery, like just crazy shit that, you can't bullshit them. They're there for you though. You want to go out, they see you struggling, come on, let's go grab a cup of coffee. Call me anytime. Let's go to a meeting. Let's go here. It's just they're there and they don't know you from a hole in the wall. And they're willing to, give themselves. That's what keeps them sober too. Helping somebody
absolutely
keeps them sober.
Yeah.
That's why in AA they have fellowship where you take on a commitment and you have to, chair a meeting. You have to run a meeting for like 6 months. Or you take on a speaking commitment where you go and you find speakers to come in and speak at our meetings. I did all of that stuff. I stayed and I cleaned up. And this is, you give a donation in the basket.
Right.
That's it. So I would say, honestly, going to rehab was the best thing. That's what started me. That's what got me clean. Until you get that poison out of your body and you're thinking straight again, you could go. I was going to AA meetings when I first tried to get sober. Yeah, oh, great. Get people's number, then go get high.
Right, get high.
Yeah, then go get high. Couldn't wait to get out of there, run. They're like, oh, we're going to get coffee. No, I'm good. I got to meet my wife.
Yeah.
So until you're, ready,
right.
first of all, you have to hit bottom, and everybody's bottom is different.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of fear that goes along with rehab and stuff like that. So,
but you go through the fire for the glory, and obviously, you're here today is living proof. You got a beautiful family. You still, have a great job. You kept your job, which is super difficult to do during those dark times. And I commend you, man. I don't know what else to say, but I really appreciate your story, and I'm glad that you came on tonight.
So grateful for you too for having this platform and giving me the opportunity to come here and share my story. It brings back a lot of memory. Talking about it, it's been so long. I really don't talk about it much because I don't go to meetings really. My family knows it. I'm not going to, tell my kids yet. They're still little. But talking about it brings up all that stuff. Like, I'm amped up now. Like,
It should also make you feel good at the accomplishment that you made.
No, definitely. It definitely does.
That goes by the wayside when you reach whatever finish lines. I guess there's multiple ones, right, through the journey. But you don't want to forget.
No,
you could easily forget.
Never. You got to keep it fresh.
Right, and that's why I really appreciate you telling your story.
Thank you.
Pleasure, man. And I hope
Thank you so much.
To get you on again one day, and we can talk about something a little lighter. But this was definitely a great topic.
No, this was good. This was good. A little laughs mixed in between.
Absolutely.
We got to have a little laughs.
But again, appreciate you for being here, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
And, I'll be back next week.